at 141 from the 396 in the particular top example, and then dividing it by the square feet. You follow me?
Yeah, but I don't see where the square feet is.
It's to your far right, last column.
Oh,
Yeah, up at the top it says total.
there it is, okay.
Well, it doesn't say exactly square feet, but we're used to reading. You're not, of course.
Okay, I see what it is.
Okay,
Okay.
did you have anything else that you wanted to tell us before we make your decision?
Well, I guess what my concern is that I would like to be compared to what I would consider equivalent houses, which would be the colonial homes. And if we're looking at the average of sales, I'd like to look at the average of appraisals as well, which, based on the spreadsheet for the neighborhood, would put us at, if we're talking market value, because when I was talking earlier, I was talking about market appraisal, which is different. So market value would put us at 126.89 per square foot, 424.710 for market value.
How much?
424.710 for market valuation. So either be somewhere between that and the 422.83, which would be for the neighborhoods, about 424,000.
Okay, I think we understand, and I think maybe use it as a picture of what we have to do.
Yeah, I
We can only
understand.
deal with market value.
Right.
And I know you're concerned about the appraised value, everybody that comes in here is, but our hands are tied, we can only.
I didn't realize that. I would have done my whole thing differently.
Well, that's all right, if you have to come back next year and inspect it.
Okay, on there.
They won't get that shit down there again.
You have any more questions, Mr. Hibbs? Okay, we're going to close the presentation portion here. Give us just a minute, we'll
Okay.
the decision.
I'll share that.
Okay.
I was punching in these numbers. That's what it is.
I'll tell you what, that you have there is how many of Okay, the panel has reached a decision on account ending in 0048 for tax year 2003 to set the market value at $419,300. That's $419,300. It's after listening to the presentation made by the property owner, viewing the information that she brought in, as well as the presentation made by the district and the sales that he mentioned. That concludes this hearing. We'll give you a receipt in just a moment, Ms. Becky.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Would you like all this back?
No, thank you. It's
You want to carry it home, right? Do you want the clips?
She never wants to see it.
Well, here, I can get them all.
Oh, okay.
Those are a little expensive. Yeah.
Oh, y'all are just, I didn't know how it all worked, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Well, you did good. Go home, tell Paul you had a...
That I did okay?
You did great. You had a experience in public.
And next year, you won't do quite as much work.
No, now I know what I'm doing, so, and I've got all the information, so hopefully it won't bother.
Yes.
Okay, folks, that's the story. Of course, it's going to go on as long as we, the people, do not join hands and stop this mess. Don't mess on Texas. Don't mess with Texas. We've had problems for years and years and years. It's time to make a change. We're setting up a legal fund. We need numbers and we need money to stay with them in court, because you can rest assured that the appraisal districts will use your money against you. And people like the chief appraiser of Harris County will say that he's not going to do anything to put you in jail or $4,000 fine, but yet he goes to Austin and testifies under the cover of writing self on the paper when he signs in to testify. But the law is quite a bit different. We'll be making stick the point that he cannot use the resources of the district for his personal use unless every other citizen in Harris County can use those same resources. By definition, Harris County is the largest appraisal district in Texas, and I think it's the second largest in the United States. When he opens his testimony as being the chief appraiser of Harris County and the former director or some sort of member of the Property Tax Board in Austin, he tries to provide weight of evidence to his testimony. What's happening is he's also violating his impartiality role. He does not add 2 and 2 to make 4. He adds maybe, perhaps, let me pick this sample, let me go to this comp up here, and then he winds up with a guess. So any situation like that, any state employee that is called to testify in Austin must testify on the bill and not for or against the bill. Mr. Robinson violates the charges immediately, all the time. Now, as regarding Sharon Boyd, let's be absolutely clear on Miss Boyd. She has the responsibility of appraising by mass appraisal all of the residential properties in Harris County, unless he has changed, Mr. Robinson has changed her job. We couldn't believe that she had a 25% discount in Maryland on Cedarhurst because of a human sewage treatment plant. Betty and I went out, took pictures, which are still available, and by the way, we have all complete records before the alterations were made to the records by someone. When I put the information in the paper that Ms. Boyd had a 25% discount because partially of her human sewage treatment plant, and her next door neighbor, Mr. Darrell Sneed, had 0 discount. The records were closed that day, and I went to see Kelly Perrio, now Kelly Sherbert, Director of Information, and I inquired as to how the changes were made, what was happening, who did it, how, and so on. I have in writing a document where she tells me, as she told me that day, that nobody can find out anything, nobody knows how they were stopped, how they were changed, who did it, or anything. Well, that's bad enough, altering government records. But then to think, after she changed it to a water treatment tank or facility, which that's all it was just a drinking water tank, she still didn't give her next door neighbor the 25%. But we have repeated this fact many, many times. Mr. Robinson's property doesn't go under his name, it goes under current property owner at 6802 Ashmore Drive. And we have had several problems dealing with that. We found out that over a period of 16 years, 2 blocks from Champions Golf Course, corner lot, 4,500 feet approximately, 3-car garage, swimming pool, 2-story brick, beautiful home on a corner lot. The property value of the land had only gone up $19 that is, in 16 years. But only in the 16th year did it go up. The story goes on. Mr. Robinson one time got an $800 increase on his house. No one else in the neighborhood got an increase. In my opinion, that was put on there so Mr. Robinson could say to anyone who was ignorant or uninformed that he got a raise in his property. I asked Kelly Perrio, and now Kelly Sherbert, if I could file a protest for anyone in the district without revealing who I was thinking about. She assured me that that would be quite okay. I filed that protest because that's unequal appraisal. Wasn't fair to our chief appraiser, who is now holding my Aggie 12th man trophy that I gave him. Of course, I know that that will not be a problem because later, George Weiss, the chairman of the board of directors, who we caught in Dearborn, Michigan, traveling at our expense, the taxpayer expense, to his own convention for realtor purposes, after he resigned from the board, was put on Channel 26 on the TV for a number of things, delinquent tax paying, a tragic story to think that a man of that caliber would be in position. Of course, he was followed by Mr. Garrison, who I have on tape saying that he doesn't know anything about appraisal, doesn't ever want to learn, doesn't care. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the experts that know about appraisal. And then he goes on to say he might want to say at the end whether it was fair or not, but I asked the question, Mr. Garrison, how are you going to know if it's fair or not if you know nothing about appraisal? And think about the billions of dollars that that man was controlling. Going back to the finishing of the story on the $800 unequal appraisal protest that I filed, she told me that I would have to have a signature of the owner in order to proceed with the hearing. Of course, I was unable to get that, but I did get a letter from Olson and Olson where they put me under house arrest under armed guard. Now, they didn't want to restrict my activities and violate the Constitution, which they really did, and they penalized all the people that I was helping free of charge with their protest, because the armed guard sitting outside of a hearing room has a very negative influence on that person's protest. But at any rate, after we went to court and went through 3 state courts, we filed charges against Robinson and the guards and so on. The HCAD people took the money and switched it into federal court. My attorney was all tied up in personal business at that time.